You see these different shades of colors. That's the central business district with red shaded areas which indicate very high land values. You see how these red values shade into yellow and green as land values decline. So what we're doing now, actually, we're zooming in into the map, into this relatively dark shaded area adjacent to the central business district. You see how you can find little squares of land values, and now we bring a little bit of 3 dimensions in to this. So we're having something like a helicopter flight along the coastline of Lake Michigan. I think it's quite interesting to see how land values tend to be higher close to the coastline. So Lake Michigan definitely was an amenity 100 years ago. The height of these bars basically indicates the land value. So what you can see is that actually you have all these tiny little micro centers with some economic activity taking place and making someone be willing to pay higher prices for that area. If we now turn to look towards the south, we get this pretty impressive view on the central business district. I mean, just showing to you how large these land price differentials actually are. I mean, so it's not just that prices are a little bit higher in the center. I mean, they are massively larger than. Well, now we can just have a look at the center. But I think it's also notable to see actually that's not only this massive land valuation in the center, which is impressive, but also you have all these tiny little micro centers, these high streets, intersections of boulevards actually where you get little peaks. And I think it's quite fascinating to see, I mean, how much variation you have on the landscape of land values, because at all of these points something was indeed happening. We now have added the undeveloped and industrial land plus a little bit of natural geography. Reminds you of the sheer size of this central business district agglomeration. We can now just land on Lake Michigan before we have a little bit of a time warp into the other years. So if you go to 1939, what you see is that still the central business district is hugely dominating. It seems like actually the coastline have gained a little bit in strength. All these micro agglomerations which you saw before, they seem to be even more pronounced. And that's even larger than before, but still the central business district is the dominating area in the city. Moving to 1961, quite a similar picture. Strong central business district, a little bit more action in the north. And my impression is that these micro centers which we had before are shrinking a little bit now. I mean, remember this one was really huge. Now becomes smaller. But I mean, in general, the overall picture of the city remains reasonably stable. This is 1990. Central business district certainly still there, possibly even larger. And I think what the most apparent thing is in 1990 is that if you look at the north, dark shaded area, and now you turn to the south, much lower in terms of the land value. So there is something like a pretty significant north-south divide emerging here over time. But one thing that certainly did not happen is the central business district does not disappear. So it's still there and it's still strong and clearly outperforming all the other areas in terms of land valuation.